योगः कर्मसु कौशलम्।
Hi, welcome to the 22nd session in the course HRM for non-HR managers. In the part 1 of this topic, we have discussed the Trade Union Act, the Industrial Disputes Act and the Industrial Employment Standing Orders Act. In the second and final part on legal compliance, we will discuss the Factories Act, the Contract Labour Act, the Apprentice Act and the Shops and Establishment Act. The Factories Act 1948 is one of the earliest welfare legislation which regulates the treatment of labour in factories. It aims at securing workers' health, safety, welfare, proper working hours and other benefits. Objective of the Factories Acts are: first, to ensure adequate safety measures and to promote the health and welfare of the workers employed in factories. 2. To prevent haphazard growth of factories through the provisions related to the approval of plans before the creation of a factory. The Factories Act is applicable to the whole of India including Jammu and Kashmir. It is applicable to all manufacturing process and establishments falling within the definition of factory. A factory is a facility which uses power and employs 10 or more workers, and if not using power, employs 20 or more workers on any day of the preceding 12 months. Important provisions under the Act covers a range of measures related to health and safety of workers. Facilities and conveniences. The factory should be kept clean. There should be arrangements to dispose of waste and effluents. Ventilation should be adequate. Reasonable temperature for comfort of employees should be maintained. Dust and fumes should be controlled below permissible limits. Artificial humidification should be at prescribed standard level. Overcrowding should be avoided. Adequate lighting, drinking water, latrines, urinals and spittoons should be provided. Welfare measures. Adequate facilities should be there for washing, sitting, storing clothes when not worn during working hours. If a worker has to work in a standing position, sitting arrangement to take short rests should be provided. Adequate first aid boxes shall be provided and maintained. Facilities in case of large factories. Following facilities are required to be provided by large factories: ambulance room if 500 or more workers are employed, canteen if 250 or more workers are employed. It should be sufficiently lighted and ventilated and suitably located. Restrooms, shelter with drinking water when 150 or more workers are employed. Creches if 30 or more women workers are employed. Full-time welfare officer if factory employs 500 or more workers. Safety officer if 1000 or more workers are employed. Safety. All machinery should be properly fenced to protect workers when machinery is in motion. Hoist and lift should be in good condition and tested periodically. Pressure plants should be checked as per rules. Floor, stairs and means of access should be of sound construction and free from obstructions. Safety appliances for eyes, dangerous dusts, gas, fumes should be provided. Workers must use the safety appliances. He should not misuse any appliances. Convenience or other things provided. In case of hazardous substance, additional safety measures have been prescribed. Adequate fire fighting equipment should be available. Safety officer should be appointed if number of workers in factory are 1000 or more. Working hours. A worker cannot be employed for more than 48 hours in a week. Weekly holiday is compulsory. If he is asked to work on weekly holiday, he should have full holiday on one of 3 days immediately or after the normal day of holiday. He cannot be employed for more than 9 hours in a day. At least half an hour rest should be provided after 5 hours. Total period of work inclusive of rest interval cannot be more than 10.5 hours. A worker should be given a weekly holiday. Overlapping of shift is not permitted. Notice of period of work should be displayed. Overtime wages. If a worker works beyond 9 hours a day or 48 hours a week, overtime wages are doubled the rate of wages are payable. A workman cannot work in 2 factories. However, overtime wages are not payable when the worker is on tour. Total working hours including overtime should not exceed 60 in a week and total overtime hours in a quarter should not exceed 50. A register of overtime should be maintained. An employee working outside the factory premises like field workers etc. on tour outside the headquarters are not entitled to overtime. Employment of women. A women worker cannot be employed beyond the hours 6 am to 7 pm. State government can grant exemption to any factory or group or class of factories, but no women can be permitted to work during 10 pm to 5 am. Shift change can be only after weekly or other holiday and not in between. Night shifts for women. Factories Act is proposed to be amended to allow night shift for women workers. The government has decided to amend section 66 of the Factories Act 1948 to allow employment of women workers between 7 pm and 6 am. The proposed bill will empower the state government for allowing the necessary flexibility in employment of women during night shift in factories. However, the state government or any person authorized by it would be allowing employment of women during night only after consulting the workers or their representative organizations or concerned employers or their representatives. The state governments are also empowered to frame their own rules for allowing such permissions. Record of workmen. A registered of all workers should be maintained. No worker should be permitted to work unless his name is in the register. Record of overtime is also required to be maintained. Leave. A worker is entitled in every calendar year annual leave with wages at the rate of 1 day for every 20 days of work performed in the previous calendar year, provided that he had worked for 240 days or more in the previous calendar year. Child worker is entitled to 1 day leave per every 15 days. While calculating 240 days, earned leave, maternity leave up to 26 weeks and layoff days will be considered, but leave shall not be earned on those days. Leave can be accumulated up to 30 days in case of adult and 40 days in case of child. Leave admissible is exclusive of holidays occurring during or at either end of the leave period. Wage for period must be paid before leave begins. If leave is for 4 or more days, leave cannot be taken for more than 3 times in a year. Application for leave should not be normally be refused. Wages for overtime and leave salary. Wages for leave encashment and overtime will include dearness allowance and cash equivalent of any benefit. However, it will not include bonus or overtime. Child employment. Child below age of 14 cannot be employed. Child above 14 but below 15 years of age can be employed only for 4.5 hours per day. He should be certified fit by a certifying surgeon. he cannot be employed during night between 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. A person over 15 but below 18 years of age is termed as adolescent can be employed as an adult if he has certificate of fitness for a full day's work from certifying surgeon. And adolescents is not permitted to work between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. There are more restrictions on employment of female adolescents. Display on notice board. A notice containing abstract of Factories Act and its rules in English and local language should be displayed. Name and addresses of factories inspector and the certifying surgeon should be also be displayed on notice board. Notice of accidents, diseases, etc. Notice of any accident causing disablement, dangerous occurrence and worker contacting occupational disease should be informed to factories inspector. Notice of dangerous occurrence and a specified disease should be given. Obligation regarding hazardous processes, substances. Information about hazardous substances, processes should be given. Workers and general public in vicinity should be informed about dangers and health hazards. Safety measures and emergency plan should be ready. Safety committee should be appointed. Contract Labour Act regulates the employment of contract labour, its abolition in certain circumstances and other related matters. It is extended to the whole of India. Contract Labour Act is applicable to first every establishment in which 20 or more workmen are employed or were employed on any day of the preceding 12 months as contract labour. Second, to every contractor who employs or who employed on any day of the preceding 12 months 20 or more workmen, provided that the appropriate government may, after giving not less than 2 months notice of its intention so to do by notification in the official gazette, apply the provisions of this act to any establishment or contractor employing such number of workmen less than 20 as may be specified in the notification. It does not apply to establishments in which intermittent or casual work is performed. Important definitions under the Act are appropriate government. Appropriate government means in relation to an establishment in respect of which the appropriate government under the Industrial Dispute Act 1947, 14th of 1947 is the central government. The central government in relation to any other establishment, the government of the state in which that other establishment is situated. Workmen shall be deemed to be employed as contract labour in or in connection with the work of an establishment when he is hired in or in connection with such work by or through a contractor with or without the knowledge of the principal employer. Contractor. Contractor in relation to an establishment means a person who undertakes to produce a given result for the establishment other than a mere supply of goods of articles of manufacture to such establishment through contract labour, or who supplies contract labour for any work of the establishment and includes a subcontractor. B. Establishment means any office or department of the government or a local authority, or second, any place where any industry, trade, business, manufacture or occupation. Principal employer means 1. In relation to any office or department of the government or a local authority, the head of the office or department or such other officer as the government or the local authority as the case may be specified in this behalf. Second, In a factory, the owner or occupier of the factory. Third, in a mine, the owner or agent of the mine, and where a person has been named as the manager of the mine, the person so named. Fourth, in any other establishment, any person responsible for the supervision and control of the establishment. Workman means any person employed in or in connection with the work of any establishment to do any skilled, semi-skilled or unskilled manual, supervisory or clerical work for hire or reward, whether the terms of employment be express or implied, but does not include any such person. 1. Who is employed mainly in a managerial or administrative capacity. 2. In a supervisory capacity. Registration of establishment employing contract labor. The appropriate government may appoint a registrar by an order notify in the official gazette who is empowered to register the establishment. Registration of certain establishments. First, every principal employer of an establishment to which this act applies shall within such period as the appropriate government may by notification in the official gazette fix in this behalf with respect to establishments generally or with respect to any class of them, make an application to the registering officer in the prescribed manner for registration of the establishment, provided that the registering officer may entertain any such application for registration after expiry of the period fixed in this behalf, if the registering officer is satisfied that the applicant was prevented by sufficient cause from making the application in time. Second, if the application for registration is complete in all respect, the registering officer shall register the establishment and issue to the principal employer of the establishment a certificate of registration containing such particulars as may be prescribed. Revocation of registration in certain cases. If the registering officer is satisfied either on a reference made to him in this behalf or otherwise that the registration of any establishment has been obtained by misrepresentation or suppression of any material fact, or that for any other reason the registration has become useless or ineffective and therefore requires to be revoked, the registering officer may, after giving an opportunity to the principal employer of the establishment to be heard and with the previous approval of the appropriate government, revoke the registration. Licensing of contractors. Appointment of licensing officers. The appropriate government may, by an order notified in the official gazette, a. appoint such persons, being gazetted officers of government, as it thinks fit to be licensing officer for this purpose. B. Define the limits within which the licensing officer shall exercise the powers conferred on licensing officers by or under the Act. Licensing of contractors. No contractor should undertake or execute any work without license is issued by authority. Welfare and health of contract labor. The contractor must provide certain welfare facilities to contract workers if the work of contract labor is likely to continue for such period as prescribed. 1. Canteens, wherein contract labor numbering 100 or more is ordinarily employed by a contractor. Second, restroom. 1. In every place wherein contract labor is required to halt at night in connection with the work of an establishment or such other suitable alternative accommodation. Second, the rest rooms or the alternative accommodation to be provided with sufficient lighted and ventilated and shall be maintained in a clean and comfortable condition. Other facilities. It shall be the duty of every contractor employing contract labor in connection with the work of an establishment to which this act applies to provide and maintain 1. Sufficient supply of wholesome drinking water for the contract labor at convenience place. B. A sufficient number of latrines and urinals of the prescribed types so situated as to be convenient and accessible to contract labor in the establishment. And C. Washing facilities. First aid facilities. There shall be provided and maintained by the contractor so as to be readily accessible during all working hours a first aid box equipped with the prescribed contents at every place where contract labor is employed by him. Liability of principal employer in certain cases. 1. If any amenity required to be provided under the Act for the benefit of the contract labor employed in an establishment is not provided by the contractor within the time prescribed thereof, such amenity shall be provided by the principal employer within such time as may be prescribed. A contractor shall be responsible for payment of wages to each worker employed by him as contract labor, and such wages shall be paid before the expiry of such period as may be prescribed. It shall be the duty of the contractor to ensure the disbursement of wages in the presence of the authorized representative of the principal employer. Apprentice Act 1961. Training in skilled job and crafts through the system of apprenticeship was a fairly widespread practice even in ancient time, when industries were operated on a small scale and skill in different trades were generally passed from father to son or from master to servant. This system of training skilled worker or technicians continued even after the Industrial Revolution. In 1850, the government passed the Indian Apprentice Act for enabling children, especially orphans and poor children, brought up by public charity to find employment when they came to age. Under this act, a child between the age of 10 to 14 could be bound as apprentice by his guardian to a trade craft. This act is extended to the whole of India. This act is applicable to those apprentices who are undergoing apprenticeship training in designated trades. From time to time, the central government has specified the trade covered by this act. Objective of the act. The main objective of this act is to promote new manpower at skills and improvement of old skills through theoretical and practical training in number of trades and occupation. Apprentice and their training. Qualification for being engaged as an apprentice. A person shall not be qualified for being engaged as an apprentice to undergo apprenticeship training in any designated trade unless he 1. is not less than 14 years of age, and 2. satisfies such a standard of education and physical fitnesses as may be prescribed, provided that different standards may be prescribed in relation to apprenticeship training in different designated trades and for different categories of apprentices. Reservation of training places for scheduled caste and the scheduled tribes in designated trades. In every designated trade, training places shall be reserved by the employer for the scheduled castes and scheduled tribes and for the other backward classes. The state and central governments have to appoint the following authorities to administer the act. 1. The National State Councils for Training in Vocational Trades. 2. Apprenticeship Council. 3. All India and State Council of Technical Education. 4th. regional boards of apprenticeship training at Chennai, Mumbai and Calcutta. Fifth, the central and state apprenticeship advisor contract of apprenticeship. 1. No person shall be engaged as an apprentice to undergo apprenticeship training in a designated trade unless such person, or if he is a minor, his guardian has entered into a contract of apprenticeship with the employer. 2. The apprenticeship training shall be deemed to have commenced on the date on which the contract of apprenticeship has been entered. 3. Every contract of apprenticeship may contain such terms and conditions as may be agreed to by the parties to the contract. 4th, every contract of apprenticeship entered into under subsection 1 shall be sent by the employer within such period as may be prescribed to the apprenticeship advisor for registration. 5th, the apprenticeship advisor shall not register a contract of apprenticeship unless he is satisfied that the person described as an apprentice in the contract is qualified under this act for being engaged as an apprentice to undergo apprenticeship training in the designated trade specified in the contract. Novation of contract of apprenticeship. Where an employer with whom a contract of apprenticeship has been entered into is for any reason unable to fulfill his obligations under the contract, and with the approval of the apprenticeship advisor, it is agreed between the employer, the apprentice or his guardian and any other employer that the apprentice shall be engaged as an apprentice under the other employer for the unexpired portion of the period of apprenticeship training. The agreement on registration with the apprenticeship advisor shall be deemed to be contract of apprenticeship between the apprentice or his guardian and the other employer, and from the date of such registration the contract of apprenticeship with the first employer shall terminate, and no obligation under that contract shall be enforceable at the instance of any party to contract against the other party thereto. Period of apprenticeship training. The period of apprenticeship training which shall be specified in the contract of apprenticeship shall be as follow. In the case of trade apprentice who, having undergone institutional training in a school or other institution recognized by the National Council, have passed the trade tests or examinations conducted by council or by an institution recognized by that council. The period of apprenticeship training shall be such as may be prescribed by an institution recognized by that council. Practical and basic training of apprentices. Every employer shall make suitable arrangements in his workshop for imparting a course of practical training to every apprentice engaged by him in accordance with the program approved by the apprenticeship advisor. Where an employer employs in his establishment 500 or more workers, the basic training shall be imparted either in separate parts of the workshop building or in a separate building which shall be set up by the employer himself, but the appropriate government may grant loans to the employer on easy terms and repayable by easy installments to meet the cost of the land, construction and equipment for such separate building. Obligation of employers. Without prejudice to the other provisions of this act, every employer shall have the following obligations in relation to an apprentice, namely: 1. To provide the apprentice with the training in his trade in accordance with the provisions of this act and the rules made thereunder. 2. If the employer is not himself qualified in the trade, to ensure that a person who possesses the prescribed qualifications is placed in charge of the training of the apprentice, and third, to carry out his obligations under the contract of apprenticeship. Obligation of apprentices. Every trade apprentice undergoing apprenticeship training shall have the following obligations, namely, first, to learn his trade conscientiously and diligently at his place of training as a skilled craftsman before the expiry of the period of training. Second, to attend practical and instructional classes regularly. Third, to carry out all lawful orders of his employer and superiors in the establishment, and fourth, to carry out his obligations under the contract of apprenticeship. Every graduate or technician's apprentice, technician, vocational apprentice undergoing apprenticeship training shall have the following obligations, namely, to learn his trade conscientiously and diligently and endeavour to qualify himself as a skilled craftsman before the expiry of the period of training. Second, to attend the practical and instructional classes regularly. Third, to carry out all lawful orders of his employer and superiors in the establishment. Fourth, to carry out his obligations under the contract of apprenticeship, which shall include the maintenance of such records of his work as may be prescribed. Payment to apprentices. Employer shall pay to every apprentice during the period of apprenticeship training such a stipend at a rate not less than the as may be specified in the contract of apprenticeship, and the stipend so specified shall be paid at such intervals and subject to such conditions as may be prescribed. Health, safety and welfare of apprentice. Where any apprentices are undergoing training in a factory, the provisions related to health, welfare and safety under the Factories Act 1948 will be applicable to apprentices as if they were workers within the meaning of that act, and when any apprentices are undergoing training in a mine, the provisions of Mines Act 1952 shall apply in relation to the health and safety of the apprentices as if they were persons employed in the mine. Hours of work, overtime, leave and holidays. The weekly and daily hours of work of an apprentice while undergoing practical training in a workshop shall be such as may be prescribed. No apprentice shall be required or allowed to work overtime except with the approval of the apprenticeship advisor, who shall not grant such approval unless he is satisfied that such overtime is in the interest of the training of the apprentice or in the public interest. An apprentice shall be entitled to such leave as may be prescribed and to such holidays as are observed in the establishment in which he is undergoing training. Employer's liability for compensation for injury. If personal injury is caused to an apprentice by accident arising out of and in the course of his training as an apprentice, his employer shall be liable to pay compensation, which shall be determined and paid so far as may be in accordance with the provisions of the Workmen's Compensation Act 1923. Conduct and discipline. In all matters of conduct and discipline, the apprentice shall be governed by the rules and regulations applicable to employees of the corresponding category in the establishment in which the apprentice is undergoing training. Holding of test and grant of certificate and conclusion of training. Every graduate or technician apprentice or technician vocational apprentice who completes his apprenticeship training to the satisfaction of the concerned regional board shall be granted a certificate of proficiency by the board. Offer and acceptance of employment. It shall not be obligatory on the part of the employer to offer any employment to any apprentice who has completed the period of his apprenticeship training in his establishment, nor shall it be obligatory on the part of the apprentice to accept an employment under the employer. Shops and Establishments Act 1953. Objectives: to provide statutory obligation and rights to employees and employers in the unorganized sector of employment, that is shops and establishments, to regulate the conditions of work and employment in shops, commercial establishments, residential hotels, restaurants, eating houses, theatres and other places of public entertainment. Scope and coverage: this is a state legislation. Each state has framed its own rules for the act. It is applicable to all persons employed in an establishment with or without wages except the members of the employer's family. A state government can exempt either permanently or for a specified period any establishments from all or any provisions of this act. Main provisions: it is compulsory for registration of shops establishment within 30 days of commencement of work. It is also compulsory to communicate for closure of the establishment within 15 days from the closing of the establishment. The Act lays down the hours of work per day and week. It lays down guidelines for a spread over, rest interval, opening and closing hours, closed days, national and religious holidays, overtime work. This Act provides rule for employment of children, young persons and women, the minimum wages to be paid, rules for annual leave, maternity leave, sickness and casual leave, etc. It also provides rule for employment and termination of service. It is compulsory to maintain registers and records as prescribed. Registration of establishment: employers must send a statement in prescribed form along with prescribed fee to inspector of local area within 30 days of the commencement of the establishment. The statement must contain following: first, name of employer or manager if any; second, postal address of the establishment; third, category of establishment; fourth, any other particulars as may be prescribed. The establishment may then be registered if the inspector is satisfied with the content of the statement and the certificate of registration is issued. Certificate of registration should be prominently displayed at the premises of the establishment. Any change in the statement submitted to the inspector must be notified in prescribed form. Closing of the establishment must also be notified to the inspector within 10 days, whereupon such establishment may be removed from the registration of establishment and registration certificate is cancelled. Opening and closing hours: no establishment including shops can be opened earlier than and closed later than such hours as may be fixed by a general or a special order by the state government. Working hours: in most of the states, the working hours of an employee in any establishment is to be so fixed that, inclusive of rest intervals, it does not spread over more than 12 hours in any day. Closing day: every shop or a commercial establishment must remain closed on any one day of the week. The list of closing days should be notified to the inspector and displayed in the premises of the establishment. A shop or establishment may remain open on the notified closing day provided it remains closed on any other day of the week, and this change will be notified to the inspector at least a week in advance. Pharmacists, chemists and druggist shops are exempted from these provisions relating to closing days. Employment of children, young person and women: no child below 14 years of age may be allowed to work in an establishment, No young person below 17 years is allowed to work in any establishment for more than 5-6 hours in any day with an interval of rest at least half an hour. No young person or woman is allowed to work during night in any establishment and to perform any such work as may be declared by the state government to be involving danger of life, health or moral. Health and safety. Premises must be clean and free from smell arising from any drain or privy or other nuisance and shall be cleaned at such times and by methods including lime washing, color washing, painting, varnishing, disinfecting and deodorizing. Every establishment must be well lighted and also provided prescribed precautions against fire. A first aid box should be maintained at every establishment where manufacturing process is carried out. Leave. Every person employed in an establishment covered by this act is entitled to annual leave with wages. The amount of leave, qualifying service, condition for claiming this leave and the wages to be paid for the leave period are different in different estates. Wages. The provisions of Payment of Wages Act 1936 and the Workmen's Compensation Act 1923, the Employees Provident Funds and Miscellaneous Provisions Act 1952 are applicable to the employees covered under this act. Enforcement and inspection. Local authorities are responsible for enforcement of this act in their jurisdiction and the state government in its area. With this, we come to the end of 22nd session of this course. In this session, we briefly introduced the Factories Act, the Contract Labour Act, the Apprentice Act and the Shops and Establishment Act. We will see you soon for the next session. Until then, thank you and goodbye.